So, dear all, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this symposium. It's a great honor for me to give lecture together with the Korean colleagues, and it's a funny feeling for me because this is the first time that I keep lecture in this building, which reconstruction was one of the most important works in our studio. The title of my presentation is The Recollective Scales of Memory in Architecture, and I would like to very briefly introduce three different projects of our studio, which difference, meaning that the first project will be a public square reconstruction, the second will be the reconstruction of this building, which was the old town hall of Buda, and the third one is a very specific project in the border of the field of architecture, because it will be a monument for a community of a university. So first, Sopron is situated in the western part of Hungary, not far from the border, not far from the Austrian-Hungarian border, and it's a very important historical town. You can see a drawing from the, I don't know, from the 17th century, and you can see the historical town, around it the city wall, and around it a very huge empty area, which was a ditch full with water, because it was this well-known defense system of the town. And what was very interesting in this project, that we can recognize that the character of this former defense system was very strong and survived the decades until now. It's not a picture from Sopron, but it's a well-known square from Rome. You know, this is the Piazza Navona, and I used to present as an analog to the situation in Sopron, because this square, the shape of this square, the atmosphere of this square represent the former status of this square, the origin of this shape, which was the stadium of Diocletianus 2000 years ago. But coming back to Sopron, this is a postcard from the 19th century. You can see that it's not a square and not a road. It's a very unique space because of this origin what I mentioned. And it was the most important place for the citizens of Sopron. You can see the commercial functions in the ground floors, and other public activities like markets and so on. A giant leap, and it's a picture of us, of our works, I think from 2009, when we won the open competition for the revitalization of this public square. You can see that because of the traffic situation, the transport system, this public square was divided into very different levels and very different places, and the pedestrian zones, the area of the pedestrian zones became very small. Our main effort was to eliminate the most of the part of the parking areas and so on. And this is the, I don't know it's okay or not, but this is the sketch of the competition plan. We thinking about this very specific area as the notes of the score, because you can see that the character of this continuous public square is very homogeneous at the same time, but very different. I mean the different wideness of the different areas of this huge square. That's why we define this line made by stone, and this line are densifying and verifying in order to express something homogeneousness on the whole square, but this line can for example, this is the main square of the project. So this line can be make adaptable the character of the different part of the project. And this aerial view can show us the beauty of the square, but the beauty not came from our project, but the historical core of the Sopron city. And I hope that our task was not only to eliminate the parking plots and the traffic system and increase the pedestrian zones, but to make a unique a homogeneous platform which is similar to the postcard what I show you. So this first project was our effort to express the memory in an urban scale, in an urban level. The second project which I would like to introduce shortly is this building, which was the former town hall of Buda. But partly it contains the ruins from the commercial houses from the 13th and 14th century. We are in the heart of the Castle district, and not only the Castle district, but the citizen part of the district, with a lot of small-scaled houses, which was the most of them were the former commercial functions. However, this picture shows us the Baroque facade of our buildings from the 18th century, but this plot was divided into 5 different plots in the medieval ages. This is the ground floor plan, and every color shows us different construction periods. For example, the red area is the first, the red area built in the first phase in the 14th century, and right after the Turkish occupations at the end of the 19th and the end of the 18th century, it became the hall of the judgment, the hall of the council of the town hall. And then almost during a century, a lot of construction period followed each other. So nowadays, however, this elevation shows us a unique Baroque facade. Behind the facade, we can recognize this patchwork-like or collage-like system, especially in the basement and the ground floor. This room is not this room, but in the next one, and this undressed status of this of the construction period was very interesting for us. However, this room and all of this floor is a typical Baroque enfilade spatial structure. We can see the top of the vaulted structure of the medieval period of the ground floor. This is one of my favorite pictures of the projects because I think it can testify something about what is very important. You can see damages on this picture. First of all, the damages which was illustrated by this stucco. This is St. Florian. This is the building, and there was a great fire in the Castle district. 1723, and this stucco helps us to remember this great fire. But around the stucco, we can see real damages, because during the bombings of the Second World War, the buildings had great injuries. So this duality, the illustrated injuries and the real injuries, can express the spiral-like repetitiveness of the history of the building. This is a very important picture for us from the end of the 19th century, made by György Klöss, who was a famous photographer of Budapest, and it helped us a lot to reconstruct the details of the elevation, the details of the tower, and so on. We are in this room. I signed it with this red point, and only seeing this longitudinal section, you can imagine that our design process was divided into different strategies, because every floor, every rooms had different characters. So the design process was very different, room by room, space by space, this building. And a few pictures only, because if you like, I can show you after the presentations some details from the cellars to the attic. This is a typical room from the cellar level. You can see the brick and stone vaulted structures from the medieval ages. Our task was to eliminate all the technical equipments from it and hide all the technical equipments under the floor and behind the furniture. And naturally, we designed the new elements, especially for the stairs, with modern style. This is one of the other very famous picture, because it shows us the collage-like system, collage-like character of the building. You can see the vaulted structure, you can see the two Baroque windows, and under the glass we can examine the stairs, which can directly lead someone from the street to the cellar, and we can see the ruins of the stairs. We have to cover the two courtyard, because it's very typical in this castle district that every house has one or two courtyard which are open, but we have to cover them because the client would like to have enough big common place in the ground floor. And it was a very problematic task, not only theoretically but physically as well. And we would like to make a very neutral structure which can integrate all of the technical elements. I mean the smoke evacuation system, the shading, the lamps and so on, in order to avoid direct technical elements on the historical body of the building. And it was very important that we would like to balance or equilibrate the heaviness of the historical building, something light on this rediscovering. And there is only two details from the stairs which led us to the attic level, not only because of the Venice chart, Venice chart, which define the good strategies for us to make a distinction between the old and the new part, but it was a natural approaches for our studio to design a contemporary part which can be a new layer on the historical layers. This is the attic level floor plan. You can see three different areas signed this red dotted line. This part can survive the Second World War bombings, but all of the other parts of the attic level was destroyed in 1945. But you can see one picture which shows us that these historical wooden structures were very important and very valuable, because these are 300-year-long wooden structure which was built right after the fire, what I mentioned. And we found out a way to keep this structural element, and between this wooden structure part, we implemented the model of the neutral model of the wooden part. And maybe this picture can shows us that we would like to juxtapose very neutral elements, very neutral spaces right next to the historical part of the attic level. And this is only an aerial view. You can see that we would like to avoid all of the openings, all the windows in the elevations. From the elevations, but we can open the attic level into the courtyard. And the our third project, very shortly, it was a competition for the postgraduate school of architecture, so-called master school. This is a garden of a university called Elte. I think this is the largest university of Hungary. Maybe we can recognize that it's not a garden, but it's a parking place surrounding very, very important historical buildings. And the university would like to have a memorial place for the victims of the Second World War. They found almost 200 names, not only students, but professors as well. And it's a very, very important but very, very hard task, I think, for an architect to design a memorial place. And we would like to avoid to have an installation, have a sculpture or something which would like to express this tragical moment of the life of the university. But instead of them, we would like to sign the whole garden. You can see maybe, but not so easy because it's not so hard. You can see the streets around this campus. This area is the garden itself. And there are two buildings covered by brick. And we made a line in the giant of the brick wall, which is 1 centimeter high, but almost 280 meters wide. And this intervention, we would like to sign the garden itself, which was the garden, the victims, which was the common garden, the former victims and the students and professors nowadays, in order to have something common between the victims and between the commemorators. And this 1 centimeter high line contains the letters of the name of the victims and datas of the death and the birth and so on. This letters height is only 6 millimeters, so you can read the text only when you are very close to the wall. The scale was a very important effect for us designing this project. You can see two photos with different scale. If you are very close, you can recognize the unique fates, the unique datas, but the monument is almost invisible if you walk along the memorial place. It's a very important photo for us because it was taken when there was an inauguration celebration of the monuments. He is a very famous professor, very famous old and respected professor of the university, and he's reading the names, name by name and datas by datas along the memorial place. So this was our three projects. I hope that I can add some comments to the very interesting and very important fields with between the memory and architecture. Thank you very much for your attention.